In this video, I'm going to show you how you could build out an agent that will qualify all of your incoming leads, where it can automatically search the lead's website, their LinkedIn, and really whatever else that you would need it to do, and then use AI to call them and get them to buy your services or book a call with you, whichever you're really looking for the assistant to do. So this agent will be able to qualify your list of leads so that the sales agent has actually enough information to personalize the conversations and close your deals for you. If you and your team just wanted to use this just to qualify the leads in your CRM and then maybe just write a summary that can be sent to your human sales agent without using this AI calling assistant, then all you have to do is just remove the second workflow that I'll later be showing you from the picture. Now, there's so many different use cases and paths that you can leverage from this, whether you wanted to qualify the leads and then plug them into your outreach campaign and email them, or build an assistant that will text them for you. There's a lot of different routes that you can take. And what I've decided to do is just take the most comprehensive approach and have this assistant actually call the leads and try to get them to buy your services or, just book a call. Obviously, it'll depend on what you need in this agent to do for your business. Nick Prior here. I build custom AI solutions that increase your bottom line and save hundreds of hours within your business. So if you're a business owner and you want to automate your operations to drive revenue and create operational leverage, there's a link in the description where you can apply to work with us. And if you're looking for all my resources, like the agents that I build out, you can find them in my community, where we give you the opportunity to work more closely with me in more in-depth tutorials in a community of like-minded individuals who are all on the same path to becoming an expert at AI agents and automating systems. I have a link down below where you can find out more on that. To kick things off, we're going to be using just a few different platforms. One, we're going to be using Airtable, and Airtable, this is going to act as my CRM, but it's totally fine if you don't use this as your company's CRM. You can use HubSpot, Salesforce, really whatever that your company uses internally. You can integrate within CRM, whether or not that it's already an option within here. So they already have HubSpot, they already have Salesforce, but if it's not in here, you can just make easy API requests to the software. And you can check out my last video how you can actually make those calls. So obviously, as I mentioned, we're using Airtable as our CRM. Every time we're getting a new lead, it's going to be recognized within this agent. So I'll actually preface this first workflow is an automation. The second workflow is actually where we're using agents, where we're using something like Vappy to call our leads and try to get them to close a deal or book demos, whatever it is. Okay, so as you just saw, we're using two different workflows. So the second one, this is where we're actually going to be calling the lead and everything. This first one is where we're going to be enriching the leads, and we're going to be searching through their website. We're going to be searching LinkedIn, and we're also going to be using something called Perplexity. And Perplexity is an LLM that just allows you to do real-time research. So it has access to up-to-date things. So ChatGPT only has access to specific things on the internet up to a certain date, which is why we're using Perplexity to search further information. Okay, and yeah, the other platform that we're going to be using is just Vappy. And as I mentioned, this is what's going to be allowing us to use AI to call our assistants. And I'll later get into how you can set up this assistant for yourself. So to start things off, what I've done is I've already set up my CRM. As you can see, I'm just putting in some dummy data. Obviously, I don't want to show off my personal CRM, which is in Airtable. I still use, but I'm just going to be using some dummy data. It'd be pretty stupid if I used and showed off all of my leads and everything. So we're just going to be using a lead. I'm going to be using myself in this example. So I'm using my website and everything, giving it my LinkedIn and all that. So I'm actually going to delete these enrichments. So this is from the test that I was doing earlier. Okay. Now what we're doing here, we're having an Airtable trigger. Now, essentially, I just connected my credentials to my Airtable account. So as simple as that, really. Then I just set up my base and the table. So as you can see, my base is called CRM, or my base is Reprise CRM, and the table is CRM. So a little bit redundant there, but that's all right. So we could fetch test events, and we can see whenever something new is added. So we'll fetch a test event, and we can see all this stuff right here. So if I were to add a brand new lead, if I were to add Thomas as the first name, I could come back in here. I could try running this again, and it'll be able to grab that latest input. As you can see, Thomas, and it's not grabbing the earlier lead because it's only getting the leads that are just now added, if that makes any sense. So I'm actually going to delete this now because I just want to be working on this lead labeled as my name. Okay. The next string that we're going to be inputting is HTTP requests. Now, what I used is something called Rapid API. So let me actually pull that up real quick. And we're using Rapid API to basically scrape the contents of these leads' websites and their LinkedIn. Now, you can get a little bit more extravagant. So if you want to scrape their Instagram, if you want to scrape their TikTok, whatever it may be, there's a lot of different options. So if you go into their discovery, you can see all the different APIs that you can connect to. And I'll back up and emphasize basically what this is just an API marketplace. So it gives you access to all these different tools, which can do all sorts of different things. So if we search up LinkedIn, we should be able to find one of these scrapers. So I believe this is the one that I use, so real-time LinkedIn scraper API. And essentially what I'm doing is I'm copying these APIs and I'm just plugging it into my HTTP request. So let me ensure which one was LinkedIn. It looks like it would be the second one. Okay. So as you can see in my CRM, I'm giving it information like my email, I'm giving it my website, I'm giving it my LinkedIn. Now I wanted to take this LinkedIn and I basically wanted to plug that into this workflow, give it to this real-time scraper and search the contents of their LinkedIn and try to find any information that we could go off of so that we can later give this information and give it to our sales agent or the AI sales agent, whichever you're really preferring for your instance. And just give them as much information as possible so we can personalize the conversations and get them to close the calls better. Okay. So this other one, we're using a website scraper. Now, how we set this up is if I go to website, let me try website scraper. I believe it was AI content scraper. Okay, so we use this, and if we come to right here, we can see the request is a post. So instead of getting anything, getting the contents of any website, whatever, we're going to be posting data into this API. So we're going to be choosing post, and we're basically just copying and pasting. So if we come over here, we see the parameters and the headers. So it doesn't say anything about authorization, so we're going to leave that as none. But if we see next up, there's going to be header, content type, and the content type is application/JSON. What we'll do here is if we go down below, we're not going to be sending any query parameters. This isn't going to be requiring any of that stuff. It doesn't say anything about query parameters, so we're going to leave it alone. But we are going to be including headers as we saw from this Rapid API. Now within the header parameters, the first one was content type and application/JSON was the value. And the second header will be X Rapid API host. And I'm going to be pasting this value from here. So I'm literally just copying and pasting each of these values. And then the same thing for here. So X Rapid API key, I'm putting in my API key. And also down here, this is where we're going to be inputting the URL for the website. So let me show you real quick. So if we go to send body and we come down to JSON, just use the fields below. And if you input URL and then just input the website. So I can literally so let me try running this again. So let me test this step, get some data really quick. And if we come down here, we should see a website right there. So I'm just going to plug that straight in. Plug it into the value. And I'm going to try and test this out and see if it gets any information from my website. And if I go to my website really quick, you can see some of the information on it. So we build bespoke growth systems to save our team hundreds of hours of work. And then we just have, additional details, nothing too extravagant. And it says the message content right here as the output. So we can either change the output as the schema, JSON, or table, or just leave it as schema. I think it's the easiest to read. So we have this mess of content information from our website. So we have the contact, we build bespoke growth systems, and some additional things. Now I want to later clean this data up, and that's where we're going to be using this code function. And don't worry if you don't know how to code, because you'll just be able to ask ChatGPT, ask the new O1, or even ask Claude to write up some JavaScript or Python to create any code so that you can clean up your information, clean up your summaries, whatever. And that's essentially what we're doing right here. So I'll give you a quick example. So I'm just going to test this step. And yeah, so essentially within this code, I'm having to clean up this information, remove any word characters that might be in there, any URLs. So in here, it just says reprise AI agents and automation. Here's the description, reduce your time spent on repetitive tasks, and all that good stuff. So we're not including any other weird URLs. And then later we could pass that information to our Airtable. Before we do that, we're cleaning up even further. So basically I just used OpenAI. And I wanted to make this information into just one stringified list. So if I test this out, my output is just going to be as content instead of website summary. So this part isn't too important. I'm just having the AI model basically clean up my website content a little bit further, just making the information a little bit more readable. And as you can see, here's the output of what it looks like. And then that's where we pass this information into our Airtable. So I'm doing first name to match, and this is basically what's going to identify, the record that we're talking about. It's giving the workflow context. So we don't have to include last name, we don't have to include email. That stuff's already in there because the only thing we're wanting to be updating is the website enrichment. Obviously, we just ran the website scrape, and we're going to be pasting that information into our enrichment tab, which will be right here. So let me go ahead and let me try running this. So let me just test this step out, and we should see in just a second this information being populated. So if I blow this up a little bit, it says name is reprise, AI agents and automation. Here's some description, and here's the content summary. Character count. So we could even do some further cleanups and remove this character count. I'm just gonna delete that for now. And that just comes down to prompting your assistants a little bit better. So obviously we'll have to make some small tweaks right there. Now I wanted to show off the LinkedIn. So if I pull up my personal LinkedIn, I'll give you some examples of the content we want to scrape. So let me open this up. So it says Nicholas Peruski, we enhance your business operation with AI automation so you can focus on growing. If we go down here, we could see all my posts, we could see my experience, we could see my education, licenses, skills, if I have any recommendations or not, and some of my interests. Okay, so we basically want to get this content and put it into my Airtable. So if we think about this a little bit further and put it in your terms or perspective, if you have a lead that's coming to you and they have a LinkedIn, it'd be pretty useful if we could take all the information, find anything. So instead of just finding the descriptions on their LinkedIn, we could also find their posts, anything that they're commenting on, and make the conversations just more personable, because that's what it really comes down to. Nowadays, when you're trying to sell, being as personable as possible, knowing about the leads really gets your foot in the door a little bit further. So we could do, actually, if we go to app, I believe okay, so this only offers, let me search up LinkedIn scrape. So let me go back to this one, real-time LinkedIn scraper. So with this API, we could get their profile data. We could search people. We could search by URL. We could get the profiles posts. We could get their posts and the comments along with it. Find their comments. So you get the idea. You could find really any information within their LinkedIn. So if you don't have their specific URL to search them up on, you could actually just search people, and you can narrow down the criteria using AI to help you out a little bit further with that specific process. But in this use case, we're just going to act as if we do have the LinkedIn URL. So we have the LinkedIn URL right here. We have a real-time scraper pulled up right here. So now we just want to input this all into an HTTP request and make that call. So once we're getting this Airtable trigger, we're getting all that information. A new lead just came in, hypothetically. So what we're doing is we're plugging in the URL endpoint straight from here. So we're literally just copying this URL. So we're copying it pretty much up to this equal sign right here. And after the equal sign is basically where you're going to be inputting the URL for the LinkedIn. So for my example, I dragged over LinkedIn, plopped it right there. Also for the method, we're using a get request instead of post. and you'll see right here, it literally decides if we're using get or post. It can't be any more simple than that. Similarly to the previous API, we're following the similar patterns. We're just copying the headers. So xrapid API host, copying this value. Same thing here. We're copying this API key, pasting it in. We're doing the same exact thing. I'm not going to explain that too much further in depth. So I'm going to test this step out. So testing a node overwrites previous pin data. Okay, so let's unpin. Let's test this out and see what we get. So we're going to be searching my LinkedIn. We'll see all this different stuff. So it's pretty unorganized. So we have this huge list of different objects. So we have my LinkedIn summary. So as I showed you earlier, it said something like, imagine if in a few weeks you could automate repetitive tasks, streamline client intake, whatever. We have where I'm from, where I went to college, dates I went to college, my company, and you get the idea. So my previous jobs, whatever. Okay, so I mean, we could scroll down forever. There's so much information that we get from this API. So obviously, as before, we just want to clean up this data and we want to, make it organized and put it into maybe just one parameter. So for example, I have just a LinkedIn enrichment category. So I don't want to fill this up with a bunch of random information for my sales agent to look at, or for, your real human sales agent to look at. It's all going to be confusing, and they don't know what they're going to be looking at. It's ultimately not going to be too useful for them. So you can use ChatGPT to basically look at your scenario. So all you do is just give it some context, say what you're doing, say, I need you to look at, you can take a screenshot. So you can take a screenshot of this, say, I need you to write me JavaScript for all these parameters, and I need you to clean up my data. And from there, it can be a pretty iterative process where you have to go back and forth with ChatGPT to get it to write the specific code and JavaScript that you're looking for. You can also write Python if you're more adept in that. So I'm going to test this out and we'll see what I got specifically. So it's shortened down the amount of parameters that I have. So within the schema, there's a lot less. If you go to the table, there's going to be a lot less of these outputs. We're just going to look at this for now. So name, headline, location, background image could be deleted. So obviously I'll have to tweak the code a little bit. But here's the summary: education, skills, certifications, and additional information, like if they're open to work, if they're open to being, hired or whatever. So obviously this information is a lot more useful. And next up, we're literally just putting this information straight back into Airtable. So if I test this out now, and if we go into Airtable, we should at any second see this LinkedIn enrichment. So let me go ahead and blow this up also. So I'll just show you what we actually got. So within the headline, it says, we enhance your business's operations. We have the location as Columbus. The summary is right here. So this is quite long, and we could clean this up even further if necessary. So what that can look like is you could basically make some conditional logic, and you could set up some filters. So within the code, if the summary is too long, or if anything's too long, what you could do is basically, let's create a model really quick. And if we say message a model, I'm not going to be using this, but hypothetically, if this is too long and we want it to be pretty short, we could just say, if any of these parameters is too long, I need you to, so let's give it some context and say what's too long. So let's go back to prompt engineering and defining what really works in using these LLMs. So if any of these parameters is too long, so let's say more than 6 sentences, then shorten them. So obviously that's a terrible example of prompt engineering. We want to be as specific as possible, but from here, we'll just give it the context of what we're talking about. So I'm going to give it that text. I'm going to give it my skills. And, if you want to give it your headline as well, feel free to throw that in. But let's just test this out. We're not going to be actually using this. Let's give it a model. Let's give it GPT-4o. And as you can see, it just shortened the content summary for me. But you get the idea of, making the AI work for you and getting it to work under your specific standards. So we have our LinkedIn enrichment. For some reason, the website enrichment deleted. Not too sure why that happened, but we'll be able to better do this once we're actually testing the entire step. Right now, we're just going through each one individually, but within this next one, we're using Perplexity, and I have a video on how to set up Perplexity, so I'm not going to get into how you can create this assistant or create this request to use it. But within here, my prompt is basically to research the leads as much as possible and try and find as much information on the lead through various different sources. So we'll test this out. It's going to look at my name. It's going to look at the company I work for and try to find some information on that. So let's see what it comes back with. So it says the provided link appears to be the website for Prize. So there's not too much information on me on the internet, so it wasn't able to find too much. But you can imagine if you're working with CEOs who are filling out your or are being inputted into your CRM or anything like that, you'll probably get better results. So it's just going to input into Airtable within the next step. But let's actually go ahead and just test this out and see how it works. So it should be running through all these different routes simultaneously. So first it's going to go through this top one, then it's going to go through this middle one, and lastly it'll go through Perplexity. So I'll just pass through that. It's going to update Airtable, and then lastly, as I mentioned, it'll go through Perplexity and update that. Okay, so we're gonna have to fix this step where it's not providing the website enrichment for some reason. So let's investigate. So right here is where it's going wrong. So this is where it's deleting my website enrichment for some reason. So maybe if I try fixed, it should be good to go because it was providing previously just an empty value. And now it shouldn't have to worry about that. So let me try running this. Let's see if that worked. Test this step out. Okay, so now we have the website enrichment in there. Let's see if it deletes it. Let's try that. Okay, looks good now. So as you can see, we have all of our different enrichments. It ran through every single node properly. We have our enrichments. Now we want to actually give this data to our phone calling assistant, and then that's where we're going to be swapping and bringing this new workflow into the picture. So I'll just start from the beginning and work our way to each individual node like that be. What we have right here is we have a schedule trigger. So we want this automation to call all of our leads at the same time every single day. So I believe I did 1 p.m. Yeah, so I did in the afternoon. So it really depends when you want them to call or be called. You could also run these automations manually. So if you didn't want this to run autonomously and run on the same day at the same time every single day, you could just test these workflows manually. Or maybe even create a different input. So if you wanted to send a text, say, hey, call this person, so be it. So we're running these schedule triggers. We don't have to get too in depth about that. Then we have our Airtables, and this is basically just going to search the records and search pretty much if there's going to be anything new in here or what we're looking for specifically. So it's going to look at all of our different records, and it's going to pull that information and do it one by one. So if we have 100 different leads in here, or as they're called in Airtable, records, hypothetically, if we have a few hundred, it's going to be looking at each individual one and calling them. So obviously there's going to be some filters. So we want to make sure that we call them on specific days and everything. So I'll explain that in just a second. So we're searching our Airtable. There's nothing really too fancy here. We're using filters. So the filter is if the call status is equal to no. So if we go to Airtable, and if we go way down here, actually way over here. So where the call status is no, the option just obviously just being binary, yes. If it's set to no, then it's not going to continue through this automation. Next, we have a basic LLM chain. And what I want this to do, I'll expand this. I'm giving you the context of the specific date. So here's what I'm saying. I say you're to look at the current date, which is now. Just give me the JSON for that. I say you must first analyze what the day is and the output 1 day ahead. And why I'm doing this is because I want this agent to call people Monday through Friday and never on Saturday and Sunday. So I have to give it the days, the current day of whatever day it is. And I'm always going to be adding one day. So if a lead's added on Monday, I want the lead to be called on Tuesday. So obviously we're going to run in some instances where if a lead is added on Friday, it's going to try and add or call that lead on Saturday or Sunday. So what I've done here is I say never, you basically just look at the day of the week and analyze if it lands on a Friday. If it lands on a Friday, then you need to give the output as 2 days ahead. So it'll be calling on Monday instead, or 3 days rather. Sorry, I can't do math. So just an example. So we could see as the created time, it's the 22nd of November. So that would land on a Friday. So we wouldn't want it to call them today being Saturday, the day I'm recording this. So I'm going to test this out and it should give me the output of Monday. So as you can see, 25th would be Monday. But just for this specific use case, I'm going to be changing that around a little bit just so we could actually call them because, the day that I'm recording this is a Saturday. So we're going to have to bypass some of that logic. Okay. So you get the picture with that. From here, we're basically just asking ChatGPT to combine all the different enrichments that we have received. So I say you're to combine all the information, but ensure that there's no information that's being redundant because sometimes this information can be repeating and we just don't want our agent to be talking about the same thing twice. So we're just trying to cover our ends there. Now, what we're doing is some manipulations. And right here, we're getting the current date. So right here, we just say current date. And we're editing the fields a little bit. So basically, I just included, some JSON strings. And I need to format the date to basically remove the time. And why I needed to do that is because if we have a filter here, and if we want the agent to only be calling the people on, the day that we needed to, so we're giving it, normally we'll be giving it something different, so not that example. So let me execute this previous node and show you what I kind of mean. So we should be getting the current date. Okay, let me go back to here. So we have our date and time. So we have a current date. The problem with this is it's giving us time. So that's why we ran this manipulation to remove the time. So the basic LLM chain. So 25th. So we want to actually just change this just for this specific use case of showing off the system. So we're going to do 2024, 11. And what's today's date? It's the 23rd. Okay. So if this date, the 23rd, is equal to the date that we're getting from formatted date, so the current date normally, then we want this automation to run. Then from here, it's going to be connected to VAPI. And what we're doing here is a post request. And here again, we're just looking at the API documentation from VAPI, and we're just connecting to our specific agent. And the agent that I created is Nick's sales agent right here. So the only thing we're going to be really creating, so I'll even show you really quick, create assistant. We're just going to be creating a blank template. And then you'll basically get something like this. And the system prompt will have some default information. And I just changed it to my specific use case. So I said, for the first message, since we're going to be calling a lead, I said, hi, is this first name? So in my example, it's going to say, hi, is this Nicholas? And then in the prompt, we're being pretty simple. Normally, you'll want to give it a much more in-depth prompt. What we're saying is, you're a sales caller for Reprise AI named Ella, and we're an AI development company. Follow the given instructions below to the best of your abilities. I said you'll be speaking with first name. They are a lead of Reprise AIs. Here's some instructions. Then I give it some additional notes. So start the conversation by addressing your name and the intention of the call. Use very casual language like gotcha, well, whatever. Give it the current date and time and some more information on that. Now we could even take this step further and say your goal is to get the lead to book a demo or book an appointment or buy your services. So you could change the instructions however you want. So if you want your agents to just talk to them and build relationships and get them to maybe look at your profiles and check out your YouTube, something like that, so be it. We're just going to keep this straightforward for now. So the voice, I'm just using plate. And I'm using Jennifer. For the functions, we're leaving all this default. Advanced, we're leaving as default. Analysis, we're leaving as default. But you could get very specific. You could put, more specific success evaluations to determine, what's a good conversation, what do you define as successful, what are we striving for within these conversations. You can give it knowledge bases where you're basically giving it a bunch of information on your company. Now, instead of doing this, you could just give an agent within N8N context. So you could give it access to Pinecone and access to your vector databases. So if it needs information on anything about your company, so if somebody's asking it, what do you guys do? Why would we buy from you? It can look into your Pinecone vector database, find answers, and use AI or connect it to an LLM to basically write a response on that. But it'd probably be easier just to use this knowledge base in here, so it can just plug straight from in there instead of having to go through different routes within N8N and make different calls. So what we're doing to actually plug this into N8N, as you saw, we made a post request. We're giving it our headers, so giving it my API key, and I'm giving it some JSON. And in here, we're just giving it first name, the type, instructions, phone number, all that stuff. So we're just keeping it pretty straightforward. So I could just give it simple instructions as hi, and the type is hi. So I'm just keeping it super bare bones, but change it however you would like. So we're copying our assistant ID, and we're also copying our phone number ID. So you'll have to connect this to Twilio. You'll have to create a number on Twilio, plug it in there. We put our assistant ID up at the top and our API, our phone number ID down there. So let's just try this out really quick. I'm going to test this workflow. We should be getting a phone call from AI agent, and I want to show you just how this works and what we're doing after that. So we'll let AI run a little bit here. Okay, so it's making that phone call request. As you can see, I'm getting a phone call from AI agent. Hopefully you can see that. But let me put this on speaker really quick. Yes, this is.
Hey, Nicholas, this is Ella from Reprise AI. Just wanted to check in and see if you have any questions or need any assistance with our AI development services.
Yeah, what do you guys do?
Sure. We specialize in developing AI solutions tailored to your business needs, whether it's automation, data analysis, or creating custom AI models, anything specific you're interested in.
Okay. Do you know anything about me or what I do?
I don't have your specific details in front of me, but I know you're a lead with us. Could you share a bit more about your role or what you're looking to achieve with AI?
No, I gotta go. Okay, so I didn't grab the details on, all my information, like all the enrichments and everything. So if we go back here, we want to make sure that we're giving our lead our actual enrichments. So for the instructions, this is where it went wrong. So it didn't have any context about me or what I do. So I'm going to delete this. I'm going to, so here we have our enrichments from OpenAI. So it has information on my city and everything. I'm just going to write it out and keep things a little bit simple for now. But normally you would just drag this in here. But just for sake of this video, let me just type out the lead is from Columbus, and they specialize in selling marketing solutions. They went to Ohio State and they have served 100+ clients successfully. Okay. Let's test this out and see if it gives me a call. So now it's running. I'm getting a call from AI agent, and let me put this on voicemail again, or speaker.
Hi, is this Nicholas?
Yes, this is.
Hey, Nicholas, this is Ella from Reprise AI. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good.
Great to hear. I just wanted to touch base and see if there's anything Reprise AI can help you with regarding AI development for your marketing solutions.
What do you know about my marketing solutions, or what do you know about me in particular?
Gotcha. I know you're based in Columbus, went to Ohio State, and have successfully served over 100 clients with your marketing solutions.
Okay.
So I was wondering if you're looking to incorporate AI into those solutions or if there's any specific area you're exploring.
Yeah, I am actually.
Awesome. Do you have any particular goals or challenges you're looking to address with AI?
Yeah, I would like to build some. Ideally, I'd like to build a lead qualification automation.
Got it. Automating lead qualification can definitely streamline your process. We can help design AI solutions tailored to that. Would you like more info on how we can assist?
Yeah, please.
All right. How about we set up a detailed call to go over your needs and see how we can tailor our AI solutions for you? When's a good time for you?
How about next Wednesday at 4 p.m.?
Sounds good. I'll schedule it for Nov 24th at 4 p.m. Looking forward to it.
Bye. Okay, so there, as you can see, I literally just gave it context, giving it some information about the lead. So saying they went to Columbus, and ideally you would have a bunch of information to pull from on all of these leads, so your agent never has things to run out of. And essentially, what it was doing after all these steps, so I needed a test workflow right here, so it's not going to run all of these again. But actually, if I come into executions, I'll be able to show you a little bit better. So if we go right here, our previous executions, and we should see some of the past, okay, some of the past routes. So this next HTTP request, this is basically checking if the call is still active, because ultimately we want to get a call summary. And within the call summary, this is just going to say, hey, this is what they talked about. And you could take that information, you can plug it back into your CRM. So I didn't particularly include that in this workflow, but all you have to do is just add a node that just says update CRM and just plug it straight into here. Super simple. But yeah, so essentially we're just checking if the call is still active. If it is still active, it's going to wait 5 seconds. It's just keep going to do the same thing. It's going to wait 5 seconds, check again. Is the call still active? It's going to wait 5 seconds. It's going to check again. So how it's doing that is we're using a filter. So if the JSON status in this HTTP request is ended, then it will go down to this edit fields, where it basically will provide me with an analysis of the call. So if I go to here, and if we want to find, actually, it would still be in here. So if we go to here and we find, okay, so this isn't the most recent conversation. This is the second most recent, the former. So it said, Ella from Reprise AI called Nicholas to follow up on their AI development services. Nicholas asked about the company's offerings, and Ella explained they specialized in tailored AI solution. When Nicholas inquired if Ella knew anything about him or his work, she admitted to not having specific details, but asked Nicholas to share more information about his role. So what this can look like with the most recent conversation we had, the latter one, it'll basically just say everything. Like Nicholas asked what Ella knew about him, and she stated, I went to Ohio State. I expressed that I was looking for a lead qualification agent. It'll provide that in this response. It'll also mention that we set up a call for, I believe it was next Tuesday or something, whatever it was. But this can be super useful if we put this back into our CRM, and we can notify ourselves or notify our whoever takes our sales meetings and basically say, hey, you have a new meeting booked with this person. Here's the information that they talked about on the call. Here's some of their enrichments. So something like this will maybe take you a few hours to build out. It's really nothing too comprehensive. And if you would spend weeks building out something like this, you can have a fully functional agent that can work every single time. Well, at least 90% of the time if you build this out properly, and really allow you to close more deals and call way more people. Because if I hypothetically have 1,000 people within my CRM, I could be calling 1,000 people, so long as we're providing the agent enough funds and everything, because it can get quite expensive if we're running this with particular models. So this is 14 cents per minute, which isn't crazy, but it will add up, as you can imagine. But I figure something like this would be particularly useful to all of you, because it provides you with a lot of leeway as to what you can do with it. Whether you wanted to text someone, if you wanted to call someone, or add it to, add the enrichments to your Instantly campaign or any other email platform that you're using. So, there's a lot of different ways that you can go about this, but I hope you guys can see the power of, what these agents, what they can actually do. So, I mean, I'm literally enriching my leads. I'm qualifying it on pretty much any information I'm finding on the internet autonomously. Then I'm giving all that information to an AI sales agent. So, I mean, for me, it's kind of hard to fathom that something like this is even possible. And then that it's even possible to actually close your leads for you, and you're not having to hire an SDR role, or somebody to just call all these leads and pay them $50,000 a year. But that's essentially it. So if you are looking for the template of this agent and implement this straight into your own system, you can find that within my own community that we just started. We also work closer with you, helping you achieve all of your goals. So if you're interested in that and getting this template, then check out the link down below in the description. And if you're a business owner and you're looking to streamline your operations and drive revenue or create operational leverage within your business to allow you and your team to spend more time on the higher ROI tasks and processes, then you can apply to work with us down in the description below, where we will build bespoke and custom solutions tailored towards your specific needs. So you can find a link down below for both of those down in the description. Anyways, I hope you guys found some value within this, and I'll see you in the next video.